Have you ever felt like you're not entirely in control? That subtle forces might be nudging you in directions you didn't consciously choose? We live in a world saturated with information, and much of it is designed to influence us. But what about the messages we don't see or hear explicitly? What about subliminal messaging? Today, we're diving deep into this often misunderstood world to ask, are you being controlled? Let's start with a basic question. What exactly is subliminal messaging? At its core, it's the use of stimuli, whether visual, auditory, or otherwise, that operate below the threshold of our conscious awareness. These stimuli are designed to bypass our rational, critical mind and go straight to our subconscious. The idea is that our subconscious mind, which is more receptive to suggestion and less likely to question, will absorb these messages and potentially influence our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. This concept relies on the idea that the subconscious is constantly processing information, even when the conscious mind is not directly aware. Think of it like this. Our conscious mind is like the captain of a ship, directing the overall course, while the subconscious is the engine room, working tirelessly behind the scenes. Subliminal messages try to sneak instructions directly to the engine room, hoping to alter the ship's course without the captain noticing. But is this actually possible? Can messages that we don't even perceive have a real effect on us? Well, the answer, as with most things, is complex. The power of suggestion is indeed a very potent force, and many different traditions understand that what we repeat to ourselves or have others repeat to us has an important effect on the subconscious. Our subconscious minds are highly susceptible to suggestion. According to some sources, the subconscious doesn't reason like our conscious minds do. Instead, it accepts what it is given, and it is always active. This means that repetitive thoughts or suggestions can be powerfully imprinted onto the subconscious. The subconscious is also thought to be where our passions, weaknesses, and desires come from. Moreover, the subconscious does not argue with the conscious mind. If the conscious mind accepts something, the subconscious will follow along. For example, if you tell yourself, "I can't do this," your subconscious takes that as an instruction and may limit your actions. It's believed that the subconscious always takes you at your word, so what you think and say is actually very important. So, how does this tie in with subliminal messages? Well, if the subconscious is always taking direction from the conscious mind, what happens if there is another layer of information that is delivered without the conscious mind's awareness or direction? Subliminal messaging can take many forms. One common technique is using visual stimuli that are flashed very briefly or embedded within larger images. These images are so quick or so subtle that our conscious eyes don't register them, but our subconscious mind can still process them. For example, a message may be presented for such a short amount of time, milliseconds, that it is below the level of conscious awareness. This can be just a flash of a word or symbol in a movie, a commercial, or even in something like a video game. Another technique is the use of auditory stimuli that are masked or played at frequencies outside our normal hearing range. A low, inaudible frequency could be in the background of a musical track or used in a retail setting to create a specific atmosphere, perhaps to encourage sales. Some people might suggest that there is an almost magical element to how these messages are able to affect us. It is important to note that the mechanisms of how subliminal messaging might operate are not fully understood scientifically. However, many traditions understand the importance of the subconscious in forming our perceptions and actions. Regardless of the mechanism, the effects of these messages are thought to impact us in many ways. Some sources suggest that this type of messaging can be used to manipulate buying habits, shape political opinions, or even influence our self-perception. But are these claims exaggerated? Well, let's be clear. The idea of being mind-controlled by hidden messages, as is often portrayed in science fiction, is likely a vast overstatement. The subconscious is not a blank slate that can be programmed like a computer. It is influenced by our existing beliefs, values, and experiences. The impact of subliminal messages is likely to be subtle and incremental. Furthermore, our conscious mind can act as a gatekeeper, protecting our subconscious from unwanted influences. If we are consciously aware of the attempts to manipulate us, or if a subliminal message clashes with our firmly held beliefs, it is less likely to have an effect. However, that doesn't mean we should dismiss the idea of subliminal messaging entirely. The key word here is influence. These messages, while not able to completely control us, can still subtly nudge our thoughts and feelings, especially when we are not paying conscious attention. And over time, these subtle nudges may very well alter our behavior. Think about it. How do we learn habits and behaviors in the first place? Through repetition and constant exposure to information, which is stored within our subconscious and then expressed through our actions. One might even argue that everything we experience influences our subconscious, regardless of whether the information is delivered subliminally or through our ordinary senses. The sources suggest that everything that we think or feel, every experience we have, gets recorded in the subconscious, so we must be careful about what we expose ourselves to, as well as how we speak to ourselves. Consider the power of autosuggestion, which is a technique by which we use repetition to influence ourselves through our subconscious. The sources suggest that by giving our subconscious instructions while in a relaxed state or during sleep, we can program ourselves to take certain actions. This suggests how powerful our subconscious minds can be, whether we are trying to control them or not. Many ancient and modern systems of magical thought rely on this principle of directing the subconscious, and the use of ritual and other tools can be seen as a way to program the subconscious with specific ideas. The sources also discuss how this power of suggestion and programming can be used by other people to manipulate or control. For instance, one source explores how to use a magic mirror and suggests that through loading a mirror with specific thoughts or instructions, those thoughts can be projected to other people. Another source describes similar methods of using mental influence, telepathy, suggestion, and hypnosis to affect others. This demonstrates that it is possible to use different techniques for mental influence, which is another way to frame subliminal messaging. Given all of this, what can we do to protect ourselves from unwanted influence? Here are a few key steps that we can take. 1. Be aware. Simply knowing that subliminal messages exist is a powerful first step. When you are aware that attempts are being made to influence you, they are much less likely to be successful. 2. Practice mindfulness. Develop the ability to pay close attention to your own thoughts and feelings. When you are more attuned to your own internal landscape, you will be more likely to recognize external attempts to manipulate you. 3. Engage in self-reflection. Take time to question where your beliefs and desires are coming from. Are you acting in accordance with your own values, or are you being guided by external pressures? 4. Control your environment. Be mindful of what you expose yourself to. Limit your consumption of media that you feel is trying to manipulate you. You can also create a peaceful and harmonious environment for yourself, which will be helpful to your overall well-being. We also have to be aware that our thoughts can act like instructions or suggestions that we give to ourselves. One source states that if we continually tell ourselves that we are not able to do something, our subconscious will accept that as a fact. This principle works in reverse also. By telling ourselves, "I can do all things through the power of my own subconscious mind," this becomes true. The ability to direct your subconscious mind is something that is available to you, so it's important that you're aware of how it's working and what kind of instructions you are giving it. In the end, the best defense against unwanted control lies in understanding how our minds work. The sources indicate that by working with our subconscious and our will, we can make significant changes in our lives. This ability to develop control over our own minds allows us to avoid being controlled by outside forces by becoming the director of our own inner world. So are you being controlled? Perhaps not in the way we see in the movies. But subliminal messaging, combined with other techniques for suggestion and manipulation, does have the potential to subtly influence our thoughts and actions. By understanding how these messages work, we can become more aware of the forces that might be trying to control us, and become better equipped to choose our own path. Stay vigilant, stay curious, and stay in control of your own mind.